Red wine dripped from his face as his wife, Claire, watched with icy contempt. For 2 years, Ethan Xiao endured endless humiliation, secretly paving her way to the top of the business world, only to be cast aside like trash the moment she reached her peak. A worthless house husband, her friend shrieked. You are a complete and utter failure. But as the ink dried on his humiliation, a pink Rolls-Royce shattered the night. A breathtaking heiress, more powerful than his ex-wife could ever dream, bowed deeply before him. Mr. Xiao, I heard you're divorced? That's wonderful. I am willing to offer myself in marriage to you. Who is Ethan Xiao? To the city's most feared gang, he is a one-man army who leaves their empire in ruins overnight. To the nation's most revered medical sage, he is a living legend, a grandmaster who makes him fall to his knees and beg for forgiveness. To the woman who broke his heart, he left a chilling promise as he shattered a wine glass at her feet. When I held you up, you were a cup. But now, you're just broken glass. The hidden dragon has awakened. Regret is a dish best served cold, and he's about to make them feast. On the outskirts of Seacliff City, at the exclusive Riverview Manor, a scene that would baffle the business world was unfolding. Marcus Liu, the head of the Liu Corporation and a multi-billionaire, was bowing deeply to a young man in his 20s. His posture was one of absolute humility. In his hands, he held a contract, his smile filled with reverence. Mr. Xiao, words cannot express my gratitude. Please, accept this small token of my appreciation. Ethan Xiao, the young man, simply gave a cool nod. He took the contract, a document that would make any businessman salivate, and stuffed it into his pocket as if it were a piece of scrap paper. Without another word, he turned and got into an ordinary sedan. His expression remained impassive from start to finish. Watching the car disappear, Marcus Liu couldn't help but sigh. Such miraculous medical skills. He should be a titan in the medical world. Why is he completely unknown? 30 minutes later, Ethan pushed open the door to a private room at the Grand Hyatt Hotel. The air was thick with the greasy smell of leftover food and the sharp tang of alcohol. The laughter inside stopped abruptly. A dozen pairs of eyes locked onto him like searchlights, filled with scrutiny and mockery. Sorry I'm late. Ethan's gaze passed over the crowd and settled on the woman in the main seat, dressed in a long purple gown. She was Claire Chun, eldest daughter of the Chun family and Ethan's wife. She was as beautiful as ever, but her delicate face was now covered in a layer of frost. Claire's best friend, Luna Li, tapped the table with a bright red fingernail, making a sharp, crisp sound. It's fine. It's not like we were waiting for you anyway. The table erupted in harsh, cutting laughter. Today was the engagement party for Claire's distant cousin. The groom's family was wealthy, and the display of expensive jewelry and fully paid luxury cars felt like 1,000 ants gnawing at Claire's heart. 2 years ago, when she and Ethan married, it had been a quiet, penniless affair. The vast difference churned a bitter resentment within her. Now, seeing Ethan in his plain, travel-worn clothes, that irritation instantly peaked. You should go home, Claire finally said, her voice as cold as ice. She said to go, so get going. Are you just going to stand there like a doorman? Luna provoked him again, her disdain unconcealed. Ethan remained silent, his heart feeling as if it were being squeezed by an invisible hand. He could feel the derision in their gazes. They all knew him as the Chun family's useless live-in son-in-law. He tightened his grip on the contract in his pocket. It was supposed to have been his surprise for her. I have something for you. I don't want it, Claire said without even looking at him. I don't want anything you can give me. And what I do want, you can't provide. Just then, Claire's phone screen lit up. A new message deepened the frown on her forehead. Ma'am, the Liu family has rejected our appointment request again. Liu again. This partnership was crucial for the Qin Corporation, yet despite all her efforts, she couldn't even get a meeting with Marcus Liu. She looked at Ethan, and a nameless hatred surged within her. If only he were a little more useful, had a few connections, she wouldn't be in this position. But he was just a good-for-nothing. Let's get a divorce. The 3 words, spoken from Claire's lips, were clear and final. Everyone, including Ethan, was stunned. He thought he had misheard. His blood seemed to freeze. Don't joke around, he said, his voice a little hoarse. Whatever it is, let's talk about it at home. Home? Aren't you embarrassed enough out here? Ethan Xiao, do you have any shame left? Luna shrieked, pulling a document from her purse and slapping it onto the table. Claire has had this plan for a while. Divorce papers. Sign them, and you can get lost. Ethan stared at the document, his mind a complete blank. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. It was premeditated. Why? He asked, looking up, his eyes filled with a deep, bottomless disappointment. He had once believed this woman was worth protecting with everything he had. Why? Don't you know why? Luna crowed like a victorious rooster. Claire is the president of the Qin Corporation now. She's a woman of status. The men lining up to pursue her could stretch from here to the edge of the city. And you? A full-time house husband? A free butler? Or a complete and utter failure? The soft snickering from the crowd felt like needles piercing Ethan's ears. Claire's silence was her consent, the most brutal verdict of all. Ethan's heart sank into an icy abyss. He thought about the past 2 years, how he had used his unknown connections to secretly pave the way for the Chin family, pushing Claire step by step into her high position. Now, she was radiant, but she was disgusted by the hands that had lifted her crown, simply because they were stained with dust. What a cruel irony. These past 2 years, I helped, he began, wanting to make one last attempt for the sake of their 3-year relationship. Don't say another word. Claire cut him off, her gaze flickering, as if she didn't dare to meet his eyes. I can give you $1 million as compensation. $1 million. So their 2 years of marriage, his wholehearted devotion, was only worth $1 million. Ethan was completely disillusioned. He let out a self-deprecating laugh, filled with endless sorrow. Just sign it and get out. Luna, seeing his reaction, grew even more smug. She picked up a glass of red wine and flung it in Ethan's face. The cold liquid ran down his cheeks, staining his white shirt, leaving him a pathetic mess. Claire just sat there, watching coldly. Her silent approval hurt more than any humiliation. Not satisfied, Luna grabbed her glass to smash it over him. But this time, her wrist was caught in a grip like an iron vice. Ethan held the glass steady, the crimson liquid sloshing, reflecting his cold eyes. He kept his gaze fixed on Claire until she looked away. Ethan released his grip, letting the glass slip from Luna's trembling hand. He took a deep breath, the disappointment in his eyes turning into a bone-chilling coldness. Fine, I'll grant the divorce. As for the money, I don't want a single cent. Trying to prove you have some backbone? Claire's voice was tinged with mockery. Ethan shook his head, his gaze like a knife, staring straight at her. I'm not refusing the money to prove a point. It's because wealth and fame are things I can obtain with ease. As for you, I just want you to understand one thing. He picked up another intact wine glass from the table, twirling it between his fingers. When I held you up, you were a cup. He paused, his eyes suddenly sharp. But if I choose not to? He let go. The wine glass fell to the polished marble floor, shattering into 1,000 glistening shards, just like their broken relationship. You're just broken glass. As his words fell, a deep, powerful engine roar grew from a distance, like a pack of steel beasts approaching. Everyone instinctively looked out the floor-to-ceiling windows. A convoy of a dozen black Range Rovers had stopped neatly at the hotel entrance. At the very front was a pink Rolls-Royce Phantom, glowing fantastically in the night. The doors opened, and dozens of bodyguards in black suits lined up, escorting a young woman from the car. The girl was breathtakingly beautiful, her aura noble. Even Claire was momentarily stunned by her presence. This massive entourage marched directly towards their private room. The door was pushed open, and Jasmine Liu burst in, her expression anxious. Her eyes scanned the room and lit up with a brilliant light when she saw the wine-stained, disheveled Ethan. Before everyone's shocked eyes, this celestial beauty walked swiftly to Ethan and bowed deeply. Mr. Shao, my father sent me to bring you back with me. Luna, recovering from her shock, pointed at Ethan in disbelief. Miss, you must have the wrong person. He's just a worthless bum who got divorced. What? Divorced? Far from being disgusted, Jasmine's face lit up with joy. That's wonderful. If Mr. Shao is willing to help, I am willing to offer myself in marriage to him. As if afraid Ethan wouldn't believe her, Jasmine added, It's okay if you're not divorced yet. I can be Mr. Zhao's concubine. A dead silence filled the room. Claire's face turned deathly pale. Let's go. Ethan ignored the stunned crowd. He knew there was no reason to stay here any longer. Before leaving, he stopped and pulled the contract from his pocket, its corner now damp with red wine. The partnership agreement with the Liu Corporation. He had planned to give it to Claire on their anniversary, a gift to solidify her position in the Chin family. He glanced at Claire, then, in front of everyone, he tore the contract, a document that would drive the Seacliff City business world into a frenzy, shred by shred, and tossed it into the trash. He never looked back. With Jasmine respectfully holding the door open for him, he got into the pink Rolls-Royce and was driven away. As the convoy departed, the silence in the room was finally broken. Luna tried to rationalize it. It's an act. Ethan must have paid to rent those cars and hire actors. The others quickly agreed, as if this was the only way to soothe their shattered egos. Only Claire stared blankly at the scraps of paper in the trash can, a flicker of regret igniting in her heart for the first time. Meanwhile, in the northern district of Seacliff City, the Liu family mansion was brightly lit, but the atmosphere was heavy. The Liu family patriarch had suddenly fallen gravely ill and was on the brink of death. The family's medical team, along with a dozen renowned doctors from the city, were all helpless. When Jasmine arrived with Ethan, her uncle, Gavin Liu, blocked their path. He looked Ethan up and down, his brow furrowed in disdain. Jasmine, stop this nonsense. I've already pulled some strings to invite the great medical sage, Dr. Marcus Chin. He'll be here any minute. What's the meaning of bringing some random kid here? Uncle, Mr. Shao is a true divine healer, Jasmine explained urgently. Divine healer? Gavin sneered. I've never heard of a divine healer named Shao in this city. Kid, Here's $10,000. Get lost and don't be an eyesore. Ethan's eyes turned cold. The fact you haven't heard of me only proves your own insignificance. I'm here to treat a patient, not to be insulted. Just then, a commotion came from outside. Dr. Sheen has arrived. The Liu family was overjoyed. Gavin shoved Ethan aside and rushed to greet him with a fawning smile. An old man with a transcendent air and arrogant eyes walked in, surrounded by an entourage. It was indeed the medical sage, Dr. Marcus Sheen. He walked with his head held high, the very picture of a grandmaster. However, as his gaze swept idly past Ethan, who was standing to the side preparing to leave, the arrogance on his face froze, then morphed into shock and ecstatic joy. As if struck by lightning, he pushed through the crowd and rushed to Ethan in a few quick steps. Under the incredulous stares of the entire Liu family, the renowned medical sage of Seacliff City, Dr. Marcus Sheen, dropped to his knees before the young man they had just been insulting, prostrating himself completely. This humble Sheen was unaware of Grandmaster's presence. I beg for Grandmaster's forgiveness. His cry of Grandmaster echoed like a thunderclap, booming through the Liu family mansion. After the earth-shattering moment when the medical sage Dr. Sheen knelt, the air in the Liu family mansion seemed to freeze. Marcus Liu held out a bank card, his posture even more reverent than before, but his hand hung in midair. Ethan simply waved it away, refusing the worldly gift. Wealth and fame were fleeting clouds to him. All he cared about now were a few medicinal herbs that could repair the hidden injuries within his body. He wrote down a prescription and handed it to Marcus. In addition to common herbs for the old patriarch's recovery, it listed 3 other names that no one had ever heard of. Marcus Liu received it with both hands as if it were a sacred treasure, solemnly promising to do everything in his power to find them. Elsewhere, after leaving the Liu estate, Dr. Sheen dialed an overseas number with trembling hands. Master, I saw Grandmaster. On the other end, a steady voice instantly became agitated. Where is he? The Dragon Country. Seacliff City. A long silence followed, finally broken by a deep sigh. The voice on the phone revealed a world-shaking secret to his disciple. Their Grandmaster, a man whose talents in both medicine and martial arts were beyond mortal comprehension, had a complicated past. An obsession had led to a backlash from his own inner demons while trying to reach a higher state, leaving him severely injured. To overcome these demons, he had sealed a portion of his memories with a supreme technique and chosen to return to the secular world to temper his heart. The master specifically instructed Dr. Sheen not to disturb the Grandmaster until his memories had fully returned. Master, from what I saw, Grandmaster is not living well. His clothes were old and dirty, as if he's been bullied. What did you say? The voice on the other end erupted with a bone-chilling killing intent, an invisible force that seemed to travel through the phone and make Dr. Sheen tremble. The sound of a table shattering came through the line, a testament to the speaker's rage. The master must not be insulted. I cannot go myself, but Seacliff City is the hometown of the warlord of the northern frontier, General Aries Wong. I will call him now and order his immediate return. When he arrives, I don't care if it's a tycoon of immense wealth or a member of the royal family. Anyone who dares to insult my master will have their entire line utterly erased. The call ended, leaving Dr. Sheen's back drenched in cold sweat. The warlord of the northern frontier, General Aries Wong, was a guardian deity of the Dragon Country, and yet he was merely one of the Grandmaster's disciples. He dared not think further. All he knew was that from this moment on, the very sky above Seacliff City was about to change. Ethan, completely unaware of this, was on his way to Thousand Island Lake with Jasmine Liu. After leaving the Chin family, he had realized he had nowhere to go. The city, it seemed, had completely abandoned him overnight. The vast lake shimmered under the setting sun, stretching beyond the horizon. The fresh scent of grass and water soothed some of the turmoil in his heart. Jasmine pointed to a magnificent villa nestled by the mountains and water. Mr. Xiao, my grandfather said to give this villa to you. Ethan knew of this villa. Valued at over $2 billion, it was a dream residence for countless elites in the city. He didn't refuse it. The patriarch's life was priceless. He deserved it. He walked up the steps, hands clasped behind his back, his stride steady. The recent humiliation seemed to have been blown away by the mountain breeze, replaced by a calm, profound composure. Watching his back, Jasmine was captivated. She felt she wasn't looking at a dejected man fresh from a divorce, but a rising star, about to illuminate the entire night sky. It is better to give than to receive. Ethan's voice drifted from ahead. In the future, if the Liu family faces a crisis, I will intervene once. This seemingly casual promise struck Jasmine's heart. She was about to say that the Liu family had deep roots in the city when Ethan continued. Your grandfather's illness doesn't seem natural. It looks more like someone caused it deliberately. That one sentence sent a chill down Jasmine's spine, and she instantly understood the weight of his promise. Inside the villa, the luxurious decor and unbeatable lake view did little to move Ethan. He stood before the massive floor-to-ceiling window in the master bedroom, gazing at the vast water, and whispered to himself, "Of the 3,000 beauties, I only wanted one. But now, I suppose I don't need that one after all." A broken relationship was like spilled water, impossible to reclaim. As night fell, the waterside manor was ablaze with lights. It was a Liu Corporation property, and tonight's investment gala had gathered the true elite of Seacliff City. Ethan casually took a car from the garage and drove there. His only purpose was to find information on those crucial herbs. Yet, fate always had a flair for irony. Just as he was about to enter, a Toyota Alphard pulled up nearby. The door slid open, and a familiar figure emerged. Claire Chun, in a stunning black evening gown that made her look like a proud black swan, instantly captured everyone's attention. Ethan frowned slightly. He couldn't understand how she got in. The Chin family wasn't qualified to attend this banquet. "Ethan, you're like a ghost that won't go away." A sharp, grating voice cut in. It was Luna Lee. Next to her stood a young man in a custom suit and a Rolex, Chad Liang, the heir of the Liang family. He looked at Ethan with the triumphant smirk of a victor. "I just left, and you're already moving on." Ethan looked at Claire, his voice cold. Claire's lips moved, but she ultimately chose silence. That silence was more hurtful than any words. Chad Liang sauntered forward with a smug grin, speaking in a low voice only they could hear. "I heard from Luna that you were married to Claire for 2 years and never even touched her. Lucky for me." He trailed off, silenced by Ethan's icy stare. "All right, get lost," Chad said, regaining his arrogance and waving his hand as if shooing away a fly. "I was having a great time with Claire at this banquet, but your appearance is like a fly in a perfect dish. It's not the fly that's disgusting, it's the fact that I had to see it." Ethan's eyes turned glacially cold. The violent rage he had been suppressing finally began to stir. He asked calmly, "Who is the fly insulting?" "The fly is insulting you." Chad shot back without thinking, his face instantly flushing with anger and embarrassment. "You bastard, you dare insult me." Before he could finish, a sharp crack echoed in the quiet night. Ethan had slapped Chad squarely across the face. The force sent him staggering back several steps, 5 clear finger marks instantly appearing on his cheek. The entire crowd was stunned. Claire and Luna stared with wide eyes. What are you doing?" Luna shrieked. Ethan slowly rotated his wrist, his gaze sweeping over Chad's shocked and enraged face. "Nothing," he said flatly. "Just swatting a fly." "You bastard, you dare hit me." Chad roared, swinging a fist at him. Crack. Another crisp slap, even louder than the first. "Ethan, apologize to Mr. Liang right now." Claire finally spoke, her tone commanding. Ethan slowly turned to her, his eyes distant and unfamiliar. "What right do you have to command me now?" His words left Claire speechless. Chad, clutching his face, pulled out his phone to call for backup, shouting curses. Just then, the elegant and powerful roar of an engine approached. A pink Rolls-Royce appeared like a phantom, stopping smoothly in front of them. The door opened, and Jasmine Liu, wearing a black evening gown identical to Claire's but exuding an even more captivating aura, stepped out. Her presence dimmed all the other lights around her. Without a glance at Chad or Claire, she walked directly to Ethan's side. Facing the arrogant Chad, her clear, cold voice rang out for all to hear. "Let's see who dares to touch Mr. Xiao." Chapter 3. At the entrance of Waterside Manor, the cool night wind did little to disperse the charged atmosphere. Before the stunned eyes of Claire, Luna, and Chad, Jasmine Liu ignored them completely. She walked straight to Ethan's side and linked her arm with his, a gesture so natural and intimate it was as if they were the most perfectly matched couple in the world. Ethan instinctively tried to pull his arm away, but when he caught the sly, playful glint in Jasmine's eyes, he understood her intention and relaxed, allowing her to hold on. This small action was like a needle, stabbing viciously into Claire's heart. An inexplicable wave of irritation and discomfort washed over her. On what grounds did he accuse her of moving on? Her relationship with Chad was purely business. But what was this, then? She wanted to question him, but found she had long lost the right. "You don't need to get involved. This is my private matter," Ethan said calmly, not wanting to drag Jasmine into his mess with Claire. "Okay, I'll listen to you." Jasmine nodded obediently. Her docile, devoted appearance made Chad's eyes burn with jealousy. He almost forgot the stinging pain in his face, his mind completely captivated by this stunning woman who had appeared out of nowhere. "Beautiful, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Chad Liang, of the Liang Corporation." Chad straightened his collar, striking what he thought was his most charming pose, his eyes filled with unconcealed greed. Jasmine glanced at him, a playful curve on her lips. "Oh, and," Chad said, pointing at Ethan, "I advise you to stay away from him. Being with someone like him will only lower your status." The playfulness on Jasmine's face deepened. She rested her head lightly on Ethan's shoulder and smiled. "What kind of person he is doesn't matter. What matters is that I like him. You, on the other hand, a grown man, why are you buzzing around like a fly?" Her words made Chad's face turn the color of a beet. It was bad enough being called a fly by Ethan, but now this gorgeous woman was saying it too? Hearing this, Claire's own frustration intensified. She looked at Ethan with a cold sneer. Ethan, hiring an actress like this must have cost you a lot, right? But let me remind you, no matter how good your act is, I won't change my mind. Well, I should thank you then, Jasmine retorted instantly, her voice crisp. Thank you for giving up such an excellent man to me. He may be a treasure in your eyes, but to me, he's just a burden, Claire said defiantly, though the hostility in her eyes betrayed her inner turmoil. Jasmine let out a soft laugh, filled with pity. She extended a slender finger and pointed toward Chad. You throw away a treasure chest, only to pick up this piece of trash. Someone as blind as you. Can you really tell the difference between a treasure and a burden? Her words were like a series of slaps, leaving the trio's faces burning. Chad was especially furious. Are you comparing me to him? Oh, my mistake. I really shouldn't compare, Jasmine said, her beautiful eyes turning to Ethan, her gaze instantly becoming gentle as water. You are not even qualified to be compared to Mr. Xiao. Just as Chad, fuming, was about to pull out his phone again, the doorman announced, Guests, please make your way inside. The banquet is about to begin. Luna quickly pulled the other two back. Claire, Chad, business first. Let's not waste time on this lowlife who can't even get in. Chad shot Ethan a venomous glare before reluctantly following Claire into the manor. Ethan watched them go, then gently removed his arm from Jasmine's. Thank you, he said softly. Shall we go in too? Jasmine re-linked her arm with his, and they walked into the dazzling banquet hall together. The hall was a sea of glittering lights and elegant figures. Ethan found a quiet corner and took a glass of red wine from a waiter's tray. As the rich, fragrant liquid spread across his palate, information about the wine suddenly surfaced in his mind. A Bordeaux red from Chateau Petrus, with an annual production of 30,000 bottles. He paused for a moment, feeling as if another piece of his forgotten memory had just fallen into place. Ethan, how did you get in here? Luna and Claire, returning from a round of socializing, were shocked to see him again. They immediately concluded he must have used the Chun family's name to sneak in. You give the Chun family far too much credit, Ethan replied without emotion. Luna sneered. Then how? Did you get in with that little girlfriend of yours? Who does she think she is? Did she think she could just walk into a Liu family banquet? Ethan looked up, watching them silently, and said, word by word, she is the host here. Just as he finished speaking, the stage lights flared to life, and a host walked out. Ladies and gentlemen, due to an urgent matter, our chairman will not be present tonight. The banquet will instead be hosted by the chairman's beloved daughter. Please give her a round of applause. Amid the enthusiastic applause, Claire and Luna looked towards the stage with anticipation. They watched as a beautiful figure in a black evening gown walked out under the spotlight. She was radiant, like a goddess descended to earth, instantly capturing the entire room's attention. And in that very moment, the anticipation on Claire's face froze, then turned to shock, and finally, to a deathly pallor. Luna let out a sharp gasp. It was her. It was actually her. The girl who had been holding Ethan's arm was the treasured daughter of the Liu Corporation, Jasmine Liu. Claire's mind was buzzing. All her previous assumptions and deductions had become a joke. She slowly turned her head to look at Ethan in the corner. He was still calm, as if he had known everything all along. She finally recalled his words. She is the host here. He hadn't been lying. He actually knew the Liu family heiress. A terrible thought rose in her mind. Could the Liu family's sudden agreement to partner with them be because of Ethan? As Claire's mind reeled, Jasmine finished her speech on stage. Her gaze cut through the crowd and landed directly on Claire, her eyes holding a hint of challenge and coldness. Then, she turned and walked off the stage. Claire's phone suddenly rang. It was the Liu Corporation chairman's secretary. She answered with a sense of dread. President Chun, I regret to inform you that after a discussion with our board, we have decided to cancel the partnership with your company. The words sent Claire plunging into an icy abyss. Her last shred of hope was shattered. Luna had been right. Not only had Ethan not helped, he had ruined the deal. Ethan, you are so cruel. She clenched her teeth, the last remnants of her old affection for him turning into a seething hatred. Beside her, Luna was frantic and immediately turned to Chad for help. Chad reluctantly made a call, mumbling vague promises before pinning all the blame on Ethan. But a few minutes later, Claire's phone rang again. It was the same secretary. President Chun, my apologies. After further discussion, we have decided to reinstate the partnership with your company. This sudden reversal left Claire and Luna ecstatic. They had no doubt it was Chad's doing. Chad, you're amazing. Luna's praise and Claire's grateful glance made Chad preen, readily accepting credit that wasn't his. You see, Claire? So what if Ethan knows Jasmine Liu? He's still no match for Chad. Luna said triumphantly. Claire wholeheartedly agreed, the scales in her heart tipping completely towards Chad. Her feelings for Ethan shifted from guilt to outright disgust. No, the more I think about it, the angrier I get. Luna stood up and marched towards Ethan, with Chad following gleefully. Claire tried to stop her, but failed. Ethan, you are a morally corrupt failure. Luna began shouting at him. What a venomous mind you have, trying to ruin Claire and the Chin family. If it weren't for Chad, you would have actually succeeded. Ethan frowned, looking at the two clowns before him. He had just, on a whim, saved the Chun family's partnership, only to be met with these baseless accusations. Have I been too lenient with you? Ethan's voice grew cold. Who do you think you are? Luna shrieked. Knowing Jasmine Liu is useless, Chad solved the whole thing with a single phone call. Hearing this, a cold, mocking smile appeared on Ethan's face. He looked at Chad. You'd better call your father to confirm that, just in case you end up looking like a fool when the truth comes out. What do you mean? Are you saying you were the one who fixed this? Chad's confidence wavered, but he forced himself to retort. Of course it was me. Ethan stood up, his gaze like a torch, staring directly at the pale-faced Claire. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried clearly to them. The only reason the Liu Corporation is partnering with the Chun family is because of me, Ethan Xiao. If you don't believe me, you can call Marcus Liu right now. Chapter 4. Faced with Ethan's stunning proposal, Luna and Chad reacted as if they'd heard the funniest joke of the century. They laughed so hard they were nearly in tears. Ethan, you might not have any other skills, but you're a master at shameless self-promotion. The disdain in their eyes was thick enough to cut. Claire didn't speak, but her silence was a clear statement of her disbelief. In her view, Ethan had not only sabotaged her opportunity, but was now using lies to cover his vile actions, even attempting to steal Chad's credit. She looked at him, her eyes filled with an unprecedented level of disappointment and coldness. You don't believe me? Ethan ignored the two clowns, his gaze fixed only on Claire. It was his final question. Believe you? You know exactly what you did. Claire's voice was like ice. It's only today that I've truly seen what kind of person you are. Hearing this, Ethan slowly withdrew his gaze, the last trace of warmth in his heart dissipating with it. He understood. In Claire's mind, he had already been sentenced. Any explanation was just a futile struggle. If you could truly see me, you wouldn't have said that. He didn't want to argue anymore, knowing that when someone chooses not to believe you, every word you say will be twisted. Luna was still chattering away, buzzing like a fly. Get lost before I lose my temper, Ethan said, swirling the red wine in his glass, his patience gone. Ethan, you worthless. Before Luna could finish her insult, a stream of crimson wine flew through the air, ruining her exquisite makeup. The liquid trickled down her face, stinging her eyes. The same scene, different roles. Last time, she had thrown wine at him. This time, Ethan had returned the favor. Ethan, you've gone too far. Claire scolded, frowning. I can go even further. Do you want to see? Ethan's retort silenced her. He turned his head, his gaze like a blade piercing straight into Claire's heart. Take your lapdogs and get out. Next time, this glass of wine will be on your face. You've changed. You've become so cruel. Claire's voice trembled. She couldn't believe this cold, ruthless man was the same Ethan who had once been so obedient to her. Ethan laughed, a sound filled with endless sorrow and irony. Leaves turn yellow slowly. A heart turns cold slowly. If you think I've changed, perhaps you should first examine your own actions. He stood up slowly, looking down at her, each word a hammer blow to her heart. After all, I have you to thank for all of this. With that, he turned and walked away, his figure resolute, without a single backward glance. Claire stood frozen, his words echoing in her ears, sending a chill through her entire body. After the banquet, as the guests dispersed, Jasmine Liu used her family's resources to find one of the 3 herbs Ethan needed, a 20-year-old purple heart dragon aloe. The herb was exceedingly rare, and even the Liu family had gone to great lengths to acquire it. Ethan was grateful, and his opinion of the spirited and quirky young heiress improved. Jasmine seized the opportunity to persuade him to participate in the upcoming Celestial Physician Cup, a medical skills competition. She wanted him to reveal his true abilities in front of everyone, especially Claire. Let her see what kind of treasure she gave up. She'll be kicking herself with regret. At her words, Ethan paused. He had originally planned to participate to win glory for the Chin family, but now, things were different. He didn't agree immediately, saying he needed to recover his strength first. But after some coaxing from Jasmine, he agreed to drive her home. After they left, in another car, Chad and Luna were acting out a different drama. Chad's hand roamed over Luna's thigh as their words dripped with a dirty conspiracy. You little vixen, once our plan succeeds, you'll be the future queen of the business world. And then, not only will I replace Claire, I'll grind her under my heel. Luna's eyes glinted with venom. It turned out that this so-called best friend had been a wolf in sheep's clothing all along. When Claire returned to her empty house, a strong sense of unease washed over her. There were no warm lights, no delicious meal waiting. The large house felt cold and desolate. Only now did she realize that everything Ethan had done for their home wasn't as cheap as Luna had claimed. But the thought of his sabotage of the partnership deal quickly replaced that discomfort with anger. No, I need an explanation from him. She picked up her phone and dialed Ethan's number. What is it? Ethan's voice on the other end was indifferent. What kind of attitude is that? Claire demanded. My attitude towards you depends on your attitude towards me. Ethan's reply left her speechless. She took a deep breath and asked coldly, why did you ruin my partnership with the Liu family? If you can't have it, you destroy it, is that it? Ethan let out a cold laugh on the other end of the line. For the last time, he asked with forced patience, if I told you the Liu family partnered with you because of me, would you believe it? I don't believe it. Claire's answer was exactly what Ethan had expected. You've always been like this. 1,000 words from me can't compete with a single whisper from your toxic best friend. Ethan's voice grew even more distant. So, what do you want me to explain? From this day forward, I won't explain a single thing to you again. With that, he hung up. He hung up on me. Claire slammed her phone on the table, her face a mask of frost. She found Ethan's words utterly laughable. For her to look up to him, it was preposterous. Just then, her mother, Autumn Long, called. Upon hearing about the divorce, she was overjoyed, her words dripping with contempt for Ethan. The poor can never rise. Never. If that Ethan Shao can ever make something of himself, I'll gouge my own eyes out. Her mother's harsh words sent Claire into a spiral of memories. 2 years ago, it was Ethan who had produced a miraculous prescription that pulled the nearly bankrupt Chen family out of the mire. But after their marriage, it was as if he'd lost his memory, achieving nothing more and becoming the family's resident idler. Thinking of this, Claire found the final, most solid justification for her decision. She murmured to the empty room. In the Chen family, mediocrity is the greatest sin. We did owe you something in the past. But from the moment you ruined the Liu family contract, we are even. The next morning, Ethan woke from a night of chaotic dreams. There were visions of clashing armies on horseback and magnificent, golden palaces. The images were both foreign and familiar, like a sealed past desperately trying to break free and see the light of day. Morning sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating dust motes floating in the air. Ethan woke from his chaotic dreams, rubbing his temples. The visions of clashing armies and golden palaces were becoming more frequent, reminders of a forgotten past. He had a faint feeling that his memories were slowly returning. After freshening up, Ethan drove into the city. He needed to buy some calming herbs and tools for refining medicinal pills. He met Jasmine at a pharmacy to receive the precious 20-year-old Purple Heart Dragon Alloy from her. Chirping like a happy bird, Jasmine suggested they visit Fuxing Street, an old-fashioned district with several long-established herbal shops. Fuxing Street was quaint and traditional, its air thick with the rich aroma of herbs and tea. As Ethan and Jasmine were chatting and laughing, Claire, Chad, and Luna appeared at the other end of the street. Chad spotted Ethan immediately, a vicious glint in his eye. He discreetly sent Claire and Luna ahead to a tea house across the street to rest, then pulled out his phone and made a call. Ethan bought the herbs he needed at one shop and asked Jasmine to stay and chat with the owner while he went to the tea house to wait. But the moment he stepped outside, he sensed something was wrong. The once bustling street had grown quiet. Pedestrians were hugging the sides of the road, their faces etched with fear. He followed their gazes and saw a dozen burly men in black tank tops, each with a tiger head tattoo, striding aggressively in his direction. The leader, a man with a thick gold chain and a fleshy face, was Bao Zhang, the local kingpin of the Black Tiger Gang. The crowd was silent, clearly intimidated by him. Ethan paid them no mind and started to cross the street. Just then, Bao Zhang hung up his phone and yelled at him. Are you blind? Can't you see I'm coming through? Do you own this road? Ethan retorted calmly. Yeah, funny you should ask. This whole street is under my protection, so yeah, this road is mine, one of Bao's lackeys boasted. They surrounded Ethan, making it clear they were looking for trouble. What gives you the right to curse at me? Ethan's eyes turned cold, his words freezing the air around them. Everyone thought he was insane. This was like pouring oil on a fire. I'm not just gonna curse at you. I'm gonna beat the hell out of you. Bao was thoroughly enraged, his fist, the size of a clay pot, whistling through the air towards Ethan's face. Stop. At that critical moment, a sharp cry came from the second floor of the tea house across the street. The crowd looked up to see Claire standing by the railing, with Chad and Luna beside her. She couldn't hold back from intervening. Chad cursed under his breath. He had orchestrated this show for Claire, wanting her to witness Ethan being beaten to a pulp. He never expected her to interfere. Claire looked down at Ethan, her tone a mixture of complexity and resignation. It seems that without the Chun family's protection, you're just a target for bullies. Bully me? With them? Ethan shook his head and scoffed. Claire didn't argue. She turned to Bao Zhang and said, Sir, I am Claire Chun, president of the Chun Corporation. Please, do me a favor. I'll have him apologize to you, and we can let this matter go. Bao Zhang exchanged a look with Chad on the balcony and sneered. Fine. Make him kneel and apologize, and I'll spare him. Claire's brow furrowed. This was an impossible demand. Meanwhile, Jasmine, having finished her business, saw the scene unfold. Instead of stepping out, she hid behind the door, watching with keen interest. Ethan let out a soft laugh. I've heard your Black Tiger gang is tough. Today, I, Ethan Xiao, would like to test that. This contemptuous remark completely ignited the fury of Bao Zhang and his men. Get him! At his command, the dozen thugs charged like hungry tigers. Claire's heart leaped into her throat. She turned to go downstairs, but was held back tightly by Luna. Just as everyone expected Ethan to be beaten senseless, the situation turned dramatically. Facing a fist aimed at his head, Ethan moved first, a crisp slap sending the thug sprawling. He then moved through the crowd as if taking a leisurely stroll. Each time he raised his hand, it was followed by a loud slap and another thug collapsing to the ground. His movements seemed casual, but were lightning fast and incredibly powerful. In less than 2 minutes, all the menacing thugs were groaning on the ground. Not a single one had managed to touch the hem of his clothes. Dead silence. The crowd outside stared, dumbfounded. Inside the shop, Jasmine's eyes shone with excitement. And on the balcony above, Claire, Chad, and Luna were so shocked their mouths hung open. None of them had ever imagined that the worthless freeloader in their eyes possessed such terrifying skill. Only you left, Ethan said, walking slowly towards the petrified Bao Zhang. The gang leader threw a desperate punch, but Ethan easily caught his wrist. A sickening crack echoed as the bone snapped. Overwhelmed by pain, Bao Zhang forgot all about his pride and began to howl for mercy. Talk. Who sent you? Ethan's voice was ice. Under the torment of the pain, Bao Zhang abandoned all loyalty and pointed up at the second floor. It was him. He told me to break one of your legs and make you kneel and apologize in the street. What the hell are you talking about? Chad's face went white. Claire whipped her head around, looking at Chad in disbelief. Chad, it was you. Ethan released Bao Zhang, and the gang scrambled away. The surrounding crowd erupted in cheers. Ethan simply raised his head, his gaze like a sword, piercing straight at Chad. Come down here. Let's settle our accounts. Chad stumbled backward, only managing some weak bravado. If you won't come down, I'll come up, Ethan said, starting towards the stairs, which immediately silenced Chad. I never knew you knew martial arts, Claire said, her eyes complex as she looked at Ethan. There's a lot you don't know, Ethan replied, meeting her gaze. Money and power are illusions. The only thing you can rely on is yourself. I am my own greatest backing. With that, Ethan turned to leave. Jasmine met him with a smile, affectionately linking her arm with his. They walked away side by side, leaving a stunned and jealous Claire in their wake. Up in the tea house, Luna was still defending Chad, blaming everything on Ethan and reiterating that it was Chad who had secured the Liu family partnership. Just then, several middle-aged men walked out of a private room. One of them greeted Claire warmly. It was Mr. Wallace Lee, the chairman of Wanyu Corporation. Mr. Lee. Claire exchanged pleasantries before he asked with a smile. I haven't seen Mr. Xiao around lately. Tell him to drop by for tea when he has time. Which Mr. Xiao? You mean Ethan? Claire was stunned. Of course, Mr. Lee said as if it were obvious. How could you not know? The partnership between our two companies over a year ago was brokered by Mr. Xiao. What? Claire felt as if she had been struck by lightning. Luna and Chad were also dumbfounded. The deal with Mr. Lee's company had been a critical step that helped the Chun family survive its crisis. She had always thought it was Chad's achievement. She never imagined. It was Ethan again. Mr. Lee, why didn't you tell me this before? Claire's mind was in chaos. Mr. Lee looked innocent. Well, you never asked. Besides, Mr. Xiao is your husband. I assumed. You knew. Claire fell into a complete silence. She suddenly realized how much of a stranger the man she had shared a bed with for 2 years truly was. She slowly turned her head, her gaze sharp as it shot towards Luna beside her. Luna, didn't you say that the deal with the Lee family was secured by Chad? In the tea house, Luna's face flushed red and white under Claire's suspicious gaze. She lowered her head, unable to speak. With Mr. Lee himself confirming the story, any defense would be futile. Ahem. Claire, I know about this. Chad interjected quickly, stepping in to smooth things over. Some things are inconvenient for my family to handle directly, so we helped you out from behind the scenes. Mr. Lee happened to run into Ethan and just mentioned it in passing. It was a small matter, so I didn't bother telling you. Right, that's what happened. Luna, as if granted a reprieve, eagerly agreed. It's been so long, I couldn't remember clearly. The two of them put on another performance, twisting the truth. However, Claire just watched them silently. She may have trusted Luna, but she wasn't a fool. Chad and Luna's act had planted a seed of doubt in her heart. In the end, to avoid an awkward scene and for the sake of her larger goal, the medical skills competition, she chose to set the issue aside for now. After all, she had to look forward, and Chad was the one who could help her now. Meanwhile, back in the car, Jasmine Liu was as excited as a child with a new toy. Mr. Xiao, you're incredible. Skilled in both medicine and martial arts. You should have seen their faces. Their jaws nearly hit the floor. She chattered on, and Ethan looked at her with a hint of amusement. You were hiding in the shop watching the show, weren't you? Enjoying yourself? Jasmine blushed instantly, lowering her head and muttering, I just wanted to see how you would handle it. After the joking, Jasmine became serious. Mr. Xiao, I still recommend you participate in the medical competition. I heard that besides fame and fortune, the prizes include many rare and precious herbs. Maybe you'll find what you need. Is that true? Ethan's interest was piqued. If he could gather the necessary herbs and restore his body, perhaps all the mysteries would be solved. Seeing his interest, Jasmine pressed her advantage, laying out her plan. She had just taken over a struggling subsidiary of the Lu Corporation as a test from her family. She wanted to invite Ethan to take full charge of the company, which would both pave the way for his participation in the competition and help her pass her test. It was a mutually beneficial arrangement, and Ethan had no reason to refuse. Aren't you afraid you'll lose everything in the end? Ethan asked, looking playfully at the clever young woman. I'm not afraid. Jasmine's eyes sparkled with determination. I trust my judgment. And so what if we lose? We can always start over. Starting over, huh? Ethan was infected by her fighting spirit and nodded in agreement. I'll help you with this. That afternoon, Ethan received the company's files from Jasmine. The company was named Golden Faith. It had once been somewhat reputable, but was now mired in debt and on the verge of bankruptcy. A true hot potato. Ethan briefly glanced at Jasmine's proposed reforms, then stood up and made a few calls. Hello, Mr. Li. Could you help me look into Golden Faith? Mr. Zhang, I heard you have a partnership with Golden Faith. I'd like to know more. In the past 2 years of paving the way for the Qin family, Ethan had made connections with many business leaders. These connections were finally proving useful. Half an hour later, internal documents began flooding his email. Looking at them, a knowing smile touched Ethan's lips. He called Jasmine back and said only one thing. Tomorrow, get ready for a good show. The next morning at 9, Ethan and Jasmine arrived at the Golden Faith Company, a dilapidated 3-story building with a letter missing from its sign. The atmosphere inside was lifeless, the employees listless, as if they were just waiting for the company to go under. In the conference room, Ethan and Jasmine waited for nearly 10 minutes before the shareholders and department managers finally trickled in. Jasmine stood up to introduce Ethan, but was rudely interrupted. Those who aren't here don't need to come. Ethan took over, his voice not loud but instantly silencing the room. What I mean is, they don't need to come in the future, either. He scanned the room, his gaze as sharp as a hawk's. Allow me to introduce him. This is Mr. Xiao. From now on, he will be the chairman of Golden Faith, responsible for all company matters, Jasmine added smoothly. The group was momentarily stunned, then showed indifferent expressions. The company was going bankrupt anyway. It didn't matter who the chairman was. Now, the meeting begins. Ethan placed his hands on the conference table, leaning forward slightly, and a powerful sense of pressure immediately filled the room. When I speak, I don't want to be interrupted. I will only say this once. Jasmine secretly admired him. This presence. She had definitely hired the right person. Today, I will only discuss 3 things. Ethan's voice echoed in the silent room. First, Quentin Zhang's position as vice chairman is terminated. Jasmine Liu will take his place. The announcement was shocking. The room erupted in an uproar. A new broom sweeps clean, but no one expected Ethan's first move to be against Quentin Zhang, who was deeply entrenched in the company. Quentin's face turned ashen, and he shot to his feet. Do you know what you're saying? We object. The other shareholders spoke up, siding with Quentin. You can object. Ethan's gaze swept over each of them, his tone calm but unyielding. But you will have to endure it. Because I am informing you, not negotiating with you. I will never agree. Quentin slammed his hand on the table and roared. Ethan narrowed his eyes, looking at him. Everyone remembered his earlier warning. He didn't look at Quentin again, simply saying coolly towards the door, take him out to cool off. 2 company security guards entered. Quentin stood up defiantly, shouting, let's see who dares to touch me. I am the vice chairman of this company. I don't care if you're the king of heaven. Ethan's voice was icy, devoid of any emotion. Take him away. Caught between Ethan's command to remove the vice chairman and their own jobs, the 2 security guards were in a difficult position. Ethan didn't waste any more words, giving them 2 options, obey or pack your bags and leave. The pressure of reality made the guards hesitate no longer. Jasmine's lips twitched, her heart racing with anxiety. The company was already on shaky ground. Ethan's move to replace a key figure at this moment was like pouring oil on a fire. But she remembered her promise to him and ultimately chose to remain silent, deciding to take a gamble. Just as the guards were about to act, Vice Chairman Quentin Zhang finally relented. He shot Ethan a hateful glare and sat back down. He wanted to see what kind of mess this newcomer could possibly make. Seeing that even Quentin had backed down, the others fell silent. Ethan scanned the room and dropped his second bombshell. Second, Golden Faith will officially be renamed Grace Pharmaceuticals. Everyone frowned again. Why change the name of a perfectly good company? This would only strip the already precarious company of its last shred of brand value. Someone couldn't help but raise an objection, but Ethan's response was so simple and blunt it was infuriating. I don't like the sound of it. Is that reason enough? This whimsical reason made even Jasmine, standing beside him, unsure whether to laugh or cry. She felt that all her business management knowledge was a joke in front of Ethan. Now for the third matter. Ethan paused, and the air in the conference room seemed to solidify. Everyone sensed that this third point would be the real storm. All shareholders will hand over their shares, without compensation. I will redistribute them later based on the situation. As his words fell, the entire room went silent. Everyone stared with wide eyes, including Jasmine. He's insane. This new chairman must be insane. Hand over shares for free? That was more absurd than outright robbery. These were assets they had bought with their own money and a decade of hard work. I disagree. Absolutely not. If you think you can take these shares, I'll eat this table. The room instantly erupted in fury. As domineering as Ethan was, this had crossed their bottom line. This time, even Jasmine couldn't stop herself from wanting to speak up. She felt that Ethan truly knew nothing about managing a company. Why do you disagree? Ethan didn't get angry this time, just asked calmly. Quentin Zhang, acting as their representative, emotionally recounted their decade of painstaking effort, claiming the shares were their rightful reward. After listening, Ethan simply nodded. Well said. Your contributions were to Golden Faith. But this is now Grace Pharmaceuticals. This company belongs to me. What do your contributions to Golden Faith have to do with me? He looked at their angry faces and continued. You say Golden Faith is what it is today because of you. Then let me ask, is today's situation, on the brink of bankruptcy, also related to you? When the company was profitable, you took your dividends. Now that the company is about to go under, you want to just walk away? Logically and morally, you should all be held responsible for the current state of affairs. His words left them speechless. But logic was one thing. Handing over their shares was an entirely different matter. It was impossible. Ethan slowly withdrew his gaze. He knew that reasoning was no longer effective. He stood up and repeated, word by word, by 5 p.m. this afternoon, all shareholders will complete the share transfer procedures. I have spoken. Who agrees and who objects? I object. Quentin was the first to raise his hand. Crack. Without hesitation, Ethan delivered a resounding slap that sent Quentin and his chair toppling to the floor. The conference room fell into dead silence once again. Jasmine's mind was in turmoil. She never thought Ethan would be so crude and violent. Did he really think he could solve everything with his fists? You bastard, you dare hit me? Quentin scrambled up, pointing at Ethan and roaring. Ethan ignored him, turning to another person. I'll ask again, who agrees and who objects? I also object. Another middle-aged man stood up. Crack. Ethan backhanded him with another slap, knocking him to the ground as well. You brute. This is illegal. You'll go to jail for this. Quentin pulled out his phone, about to call the police. It seems you know the law. Ethan sneered, taking a file from his briefcase and tossing it on the table. Then please, help me take a look at this. Quentin suspiciously opened the file. After just one glance, his face changed dramatically. He looked up at Ethan in disbelief, then quickly flipped to the second page, sucking in a sharp breath and slamming the file shut as if he'd been burned. Since you know the law, based on this alone, is a 10-year sentence enough for you? Ethan asked playfully. Enough. More than enough. Cold sweat dripped from Quentin's forehead. His attitude completely changed as he bowed obsequiously. I deserved it. You hit me well. Very well. This scene stunned everyone. Ethan didn't stop, tossing a file in front of each shareholder. The files contained detailed records of their various acts of corruption within the company, each one enough to land them in prison. It turned out Ethan had held the power of life and death over them all along. Now, make your choice, Ethan said, slowly sitting down. Hand over their shares or go to jail. It wasn't a difficult choice. Chairman Xiao, I support all of your decisions. Quentin was the first to step forward, bowing at a 90-degree angle. From now on, I, Quentin Zhang, will follow your every command. We will follow the chairman's every command. The 30-plus people in the room stood up and bowed in unison, their voices thundering. Watching this, Jasmine was beyond shocked. The people she couldn't manage in over half a month, Ethan had subdued in just 1 hour. She was completely convinced. This man had left a profound mark on her heart. After the meeting, Luna arrived at the company in a huff, wanting to renew a partnership, only to be told that the new chairman was Ethan. She couldn't believe her eyes. Ethan then announced on the spot, from today, all cooperation with the Chun Corporation is cancelled. Furious, Luna returned to the Chun Corporation and exaggerated the story to Claire. Claire, shocked, immediately called Ethan. Believing he was being set up as a scapegoat, she kindly warned him that Golden Faith was about to go bankrupt and that he shouldn't get himself into trouble. Ethan simply replied coolly, You're overthinking it. Golden Faith will not go bankrupt. You just watch. In a week at most, I'll bring it back from the dead. What a joke. Claire found Ethan completely unreasonable. If you can bring it back from the dead, then I, Claire Chun, will be at your disposal. She hung up angrily, waiting to see him make a fool of himself. Just as Ethan hung up and was about to discuss the company's products with Jasmine, A loud bang echoed as the office door was kicked open. A new challenger had arrived. Standing outside the kicked-in office door were two furious, bald, middle-aged men, the two shareholders who had skipped the meeting. They stormed in, slamming their hands on the desk and demanding an explanation from Ethan. "Get out," Ethan said without looking up, his tone icy. He had no interest in wasting words on such clowns. The two men, unaccustomed to such treatment, began to cause a ruckus in the office, refusing to leave and even demanding compensation. A cold glint flashed in Ethan's eyes. Jasmine, next to him, understood immediately and called security on her intercom. "Take them away," Ethan ordered. The two were forcibly dragged out, still shouting vicious threats. "Not everyone is worthy of my attention," Ethan said flatly. "But those two cannot be kept around." He knew that people like them were like flies drawn to blood. If not swatted completely, they would only cause endless trouble. After dealing with those two rabid dogs, a larger crisis emerged. Jasmine held a document, her expression grave, explaining that the company's flagship skincare product had recently received numerous complaints of allergic reactions. "This product is the company's lifeline," she said worriedly. "How could something go wrong all of a sudden?" Ethan took the product, opened the cap, and dabbed a small amount on his finger. He sniffed it and compared it carefully with the formula. A moment later, he reached a conclusion that sent a chill down Jasmine's spine. "The formula is correct, but the product wasn't made according to the formula." "You mean, someone substituted the raw materials?" Jasmine instantly grasped the severity of the situation. This meant that a large number of products already on the market were potential time bombs. If a mass outbreak occurred, Golden Faith would be ruined beyond recovery. "What's done is done. We can only try to mitigate the damage." Ethan remained composed, as if everything was under his control. He had Jasmine immediately notify all channels to halt sales and recall the products. Then, they drove to the factory to investigate personally. The investigation confirmed Ethan's judgment perfectly. The ones who had substituted the materials were the two shareholders who had just been fired. Jasmine gritted her teeth in anger, but Ethan sensed something unusual. As shareholders, Leo Kwan and his partner shouldn't have done something so self-destructive, Ethan remarked on the way back. Jasmine, being sharp, understood immediately. They were put up to it. "Someone knows Golden Faith is a loose subsidiary and wants to use it as a breakthrough to target our family." Just then, Ethan noticed several cars in his rearview mirror following them with ill intent. Moments later, the oncoming lane was blocked by several more cars. They were trapped. Dozens of burly men in black, holding steel pipes, poured out and surrounded their car. "It's the Black Tiger Gang again." Jasmine recognized the leader, Bao Zhang, the same man Ethan had taught a lesson to on Fuxing Street a few days ago. "Paid to do a job," Bao said. He flinched upon seeing Ethan, but his courage was bolstered by his companions. This time, they not only had numbers, but also a formidable figure. The head of the Black Tiger Gang's combat division, the renowned enforcer, Wyatt Wong. Wyatt Wong, a burly young man with a scar between his eyebrows, exuded a palpable aura of violence. He recognized Jasmine's identity and, as a sign of respect to the Liu family, allowed her to leave. But Ethan had to stay. "Mr. Xiao is a friend of my family." Jasmine refused to back down. "That's not my problem," Wyatt said forcefully. "The Black Tiger Gang doesn't play by business rules." Jasmine knew her background was useless here. Ethan told her to get back in the car, and he faced the 30-plus armed thugs alone. "Get him!" At Wyatt's command, the men surged forward like a tide. Inside the car, Jasmine's heart was in her throat. But what she saw next was a scene she would never forget for the rest of her life. Ethan moved. His figure was like a phantom, his every strike precise and brutal. He snatched a steel pipe, becoming even more formidable, and charged into the crowd. The sound of whistling pipes, cracking bones, and agonizing screams mingled in a violent symphony. 5 minutes later, the scene was a mess of groaning bodies. Over 30 thugs were down, while Ethan stood in the middle, not even out of breath, completely unharmed. Wyatt was horrified. His prize combat division elites couldn't even touch the man's clothes. With a roar, he entered the fray himself, delivering a powerful punch with the force of his entire body, aiming straight for Ethan's face. However, this punch, powerful enough to bend a steel plate, was effortlessly stopped by Ethan's outstretched hand, which clamped down on his wrist. Then, with a sharp crack, Wyatt was sent spinning through the air by a slap, landing heavily on the ground and passing out instantly. "This is the second time your Black Tiger Gang has provoked me," Ethan said, stepping on Wyatt's back, his voice as cold as ice. "If there is a third time, I will make the Black Tiger Gang disappear from Seacliff City entirely." With that, he pressed down with his foot. A sickening crunch echoed as he snapped Wyatt's right arm. Under the terrified gazes of Bao Zhang and the others, Ethan got back in his car and drove away. In the car, Jasmine had transformed into a complete fangirl, her eyes sparkling with adoration. Elsewhere, in a car heading to the hospital, Wyatt Wong, sweating profusely from the pain, had a venomous glint in his eyes. "I want him dead. I don't care how good he is at fighting. I want him dead," he roared, ordering a thorough investigation into Ethan's background. A much larger storm was brewing in the shadows. Just then, Ethan's phone rang. It was Mr. Wallisley, the chairman of Wanyu Corporation. Mr. Shao, our contract with the Chin Corporation is about to expire, but raw material prices have gone up a lot this year. The profit margin we gave up before was too much, so I wanted to hear your thoughts. Ethan put down his phone. A single word from him could determine the fate of the partnership between Mr. Lee and the Chin Corporation. But in the end, he chose to let it go. He might not help, but he wouldn't deliberately destroy it either. After all, the Chin Corporation was a sapling he had once personally nurtured. You don't understand me, just as you don't understand why the Chun Corporation grew so quickly. Ethan murmured to himself, shaking his head and returning his focus to the herbs on the table. Meanwhile, in Claire Chin's villa, her mother, Autumn Wong, was nagging her relentlessly, urging her to accept Chad Liang. As mother and daughter argued, the deep rumble of car engines grew closer, finally stopping outside the villa. More than 20 black SUVs, like a pack of steel beasts, surrounded the villa. The doors opened in unison, and nearly 100 burly men in black tank tops with tiger head tattoos, armed with weapons, surged forward like a tide. The expensive villa gate, fragile as paper before them, was kicked open. Oh my God! Autumn Wong turned pale, trembling all over. Claire's heart also tightened as she recognized them, the Black Tiger Gang. A path opened in the crowd, and a thuggish-looking young man stepped forward. It was Fin Feng, the son of the Black Tiger Gang's leader. He sat down on the sofa with an air of entitlement, propping his feet on the coffee table and sizing up the mother and daughter with a sinister gaze. Mr. Feng, we have no history of animosity. What is the meaning of this? Claire forced herself to remain calm. No animosity? Fin sneered, pointing to Bao Zhang and Wyatt Wong behind him, their arms in casts. Then did my two brothers here just fall down on their own? Claire's heart sank. They were here for revenge against Ethan. I'm not wasting my breath on you. Fin slammed his hand on the table. Ethan Shao is your man, right? Since I can't find him, I'll find you. That damn jinx. Autumn Wong burst into tears, cursing Ethan as a harbinger of bad luck. She urged Claire to call Ethan immediately and have him solve his own mess. But Claire hesitated. She knew that with Fin's ruthless methods, if Ethan came, he would be crippled for life, if not killed. She didn't want him to walk into a death trap. Taking a deep breath, she tried to negotiate with Fin, offering to pay compensation. But Fin just toyed with a dagger, sneering contemptuously. Do I, Fin Feng, look like I need money? Claire then brought up the Liang family, hoping to intimidate him. But Fin became even more arrogant. Chad Liang? If he came here, he'd be fit only to kneel and lick my shoes. He didn't even care about the Liang family. Claire's heart sank to the bottom. Her last hope was gone. Losing his patience, Fin had his men snatch Claire's phone and personally dialed Ethan's number. I have your woman, Fin threatened coldly when the call connected. I'll give you 10 minutes. If you're not here, I'll pass her around. If you dare to touch a hair on her head, I will make you wish you were dead, came Ethan's bone-chilling voice from the other end. Before the call ended, Ethan heard Claire shout, Ethan, don't come. There are too many of them. The Black Tiger Gang again. Murderous intent filled Ethan's eyes. Without a moment's hesitation, he drove out of his villa and sped towards Claire's house. He had caused this trouble, so he would take responsibility for it. The woman who was once his would not be defiled by others. Inside the villa, Claire was in deep despair. She didn't want Ethan to come, yet deep down, she longed for him to act like a real man and take responsibility. Autumn Wong, on the other hand, was gloating, certain that the useless Ethan would be too scared to show up. Spare him? It's not impossible, Fin said, a lecherous glint in his eyes as he looked at the desperate Claire. Sleep with me, and I might consider sparing his miserable life. You're shameless, Claire cursed. Hee hee, I can be even more shameless. Fin lunged forward, grabbing Claire's arm and getting handsy. As she struggled, he became enraged, slapping her across the face before grabbing her dress and tearing it with force. Rip! The sound of tearing fabric exposed her fair shoulder. Just as Fin's hand was about to touch her again, a massive crash came from outside. It was followed by the angry shouts and screams of the gang members. Thud! A burly man was thrown through the doorway, landing heavily in the courtyard. Outside, dozens of thugs were backing away in terror, as if facing a demon crawled out of hell. A dark figure appeared in the doorway. His eyes were filled with an unquenchable killing intent, and his body radiated a savage, cold aura. It was Ethan. In that moment, this Ethan was a world apart from the gentle, almost timid man Claire and Autumn remembered. What are you waiting for? Get him! Fin snapped out of his shock and roared. Dozens of thugs forced themselves to charge. But before Ethan, they were as fragile as paper. He moved through them as if they weren't there, every strike sending someone to the ground, screaming. His steps never faltered as he cut through the crowd, his target singular, Fin Feng. I told you, if you dared to touch her, I would make you wish you were dead. Ethan stood before Fin, his cold voice making him shiver. Crack! A resounding slap sent Finn seeing stars. Before he could react, Ethan grabbed his wrist and twisted. Crack. The bone snapped. You dare hit me? Do you know who I am? Finn roared, his face bruised and swollen. I don't care who you are, Ethan replied with another slap. Do you know who my father is? You'll need a paternity test for that. I'm not obligated to help you find your dad. My father is Forrest Foam. Finn let out a final, furious roar. Ethan's eyes remained cold as he delivered 3 more vicious slaps across his face, the sounds crisp and loud. He may be able to rule the forest, but he can't rule the heavens. Ethan's furious slaps left Finn's face a bloody mess, teeth and blood spraying from his mouth. The remaining dozens of Black Tiger Gang members were terrified by the horrific sight, too scared to even breathe. Ethan, stop! Claire finally snapped out of her shock, rushing forward anxiously. The Black Tiger Gang is not to be messed with. She knew that if things escalated, Ethan would surely die, and even the Chin family would be dragged down with him. Ethan turned, his gaze sweeping over Claire's torn clothes and the slap mark on her face. Only then did the killing intent in his eyes recede slightly. He released Finn, who, thinking Ethan was scared, sneered menacingly. Just wait. You and the Chin family are all dead. You think this is over? Ethan's icy voice made Finn's smile freeze. Ethan was a man of his word. He had said he would make Finn wish he were dead, and he would not go back on it. Without another word, he raised his right foot and, with all his might, kicked Finn squarely in the crotch. Ah! A blood-curdling scream echoed through the entire villa complex. The infamous gangster scion of Seacliff City, Finn Foam, was now Eunuch Foam. Claire and Autumn stood frozen. They had never seen this ruthless, brutal side of Ethan. Seeing that Ethan was about to strike again, Claire quickly grabbed him. She was truly afraid that in his rage, Ethan would kill someone, which would be a point of no return. Get out! Ethan withdrew his gaze. Wyatt Wong and the others, as if granted amnesty, quickly helped up the unconscious Finn and fled in panic. Before leaving, Finn's venomous eyes locked onto Ethan, as if to say, you will die, and your woman will be violated by 1,000 men. Ethan suddenly turned to the cowering Wyatt Wong. What did I say yesterday? Wyatt trembled, stammering. You said that if we bothered you again, you would make the Black Tiger Gang disappear completely. Good. Ethan nodded, his gaze turning towards the direction Finn had fled. You don't have to come looking for me, because I will be coming for you. Once the Black Tiger Gang's convoy had completely disappeared, Autumn Wong finally regained her senses and pointed at Ethan, screaming, You menace! You're nothing but a jinx. In her mind, even though Ethan had saved them, he was the one who had brought this trouble upon them, and she felt no gratitude. Ethan didn't argue. He knew he bore undeniable responsibility. I'm sorry for dragging you into this today, he said to Claire, a hint of apology in his eyes. But I will get justice for you. What just happened was only the interest. I promise, the Black Tiger Gang will never bother you again. With that, he turned to leave. Where are you going? You can't fight them. Claire chased after him urgently. To her, Ethan's actions were suicidal. How could Fist solve everything? In this world, no one can judge me, Ethan said before driving away, leaving a worried Claire and a scornful Autumn Wong behind. In one afternoon, the news that the Black Tiger Gang's prince had been neutered swept through the entire Seacliff City underworld like a storm. Everyone knew a bloodbath was coming. That night at 9, on Copper Gong Street in the North District, the lights were bright and the atmosphere hedonistic. At the end of the street stood the Black Tiger Entertainment City, the gang's headquarters. Ethan parked his car at a distance and, alone, like a shadow melting into the night, walked towards the beast that devoured the light. A cold, unapproachable aura emanated from him, and the crowd instinctively parted to let him through. Meanwhile, on the 5th floor of the Entertainment City, the leader of the Black Tiger Gang, Forrest Foam, stood before a floor-to-ceiling window, his face grim. He had just received the news that his only son, Finn, was completely ruined. This meant that the Foam family line was over. Get everyone here now. Forrest's rage exploded. Like a cornered tiger, he roared that he would turn Seacliff City upside down to find the man named Shao and slice him into 1,000 pieces. He had lost all reason, no longer caring about the conflict with another major power. He only wanted revenge. Just then, a subordinate rushed in. Boss, there's a man downstairs who wants to see you. He says his name is Shao, and that he's the one you're looking for. Good. Arrogant indeed. Forrest laughed with rage. He sat back down behind his desk, waiting to see how this reckless kid would be torn to shreds by his men. Bang. The office door was kicked open, and Ethan strode in. I'm not just looking for you. I'm going to kill you. The sight of his enemy made Forrest's eyes burn with hatred. At his command, over 100 thugs armed with steel pipes and machetes swarmed towards Ethan like a crazed mob. Ethan moved. He snatched a steel pipe and charged head-on into the tide of bodies. The pipe became a blur in his hands, every swing accompanied by the sound of cracking bones and agonizing screams. He was like a god of war from hell, single-handedly taking on over 100 desperate men without losing an inch of ground. Forrest's expression changed from sneering contempt to grave seriousness. He had been in the underworld for years, but had never seen such a terrifying individual. Seeing his men fall one by one, he finally felt fear and turned to flee with his personal bodyguards. "Did I say you could leave?" Ethan's voice was like a judgment from the abyss. Forrest fled to a room on the second floor, still shaken. He believed his endless stream of men would soon overwhelm Ethan. However, the sounds of fighting from upstairs were moving down, floor by floor. Third floor. Second floor. "Boss, he's here." A subordinate pointed at the door in terror. Outside the door, Ethan was covered in blood, his steel pipe still dripping. He walked forward step by step, each footfall like a hammer on their hearts. The once arrogant members of the Black Tiger Gang backed away before him, none daring to step forward. Bang! A subordinate blocking the door was kicked aside. Ethan appeared in the doorway, his eyes, reddened with blood, fixed on Forrest's phone. "Weren't you looking to settle accounts with me?" His voice was hoarse but filled with endless killing intent. "I'm here." The morning after, at the Chun Corporation's main office, Claire had been on edge all day. She was worried for Ethan's safety and terrified of the Black Tiger Gang's retaliation. Just then, Luna burst in, phone in hand, with explosive news. "Claire, did you hear? Someone wiped out the Black Tiger Gang." Claire's eyes slowly widened in disbelief. Luna's friend had been there, not only witnessing Forrest Fang's defeat, but also taking pictures. When Claire saw the photo on Luna's phone, she froze completely. The picture was dim, but she recognized him instantly. The young man standing on the staircase with his hands behind his back like an emperor, receiving the kneeling apology of Forrest Foam, was Ethan. The Black Tiger Gang. Ethan really destroyed them. The thought exploded in her mind like thunder, throwing her into turmoil. The failure she had always seen him as possessed such terrifying power? Just as she was about to call Ethan to confirm, Chad Leong walked in with a smile. "Claire, the Black Tiger Gang matter is resolved. The Chun Corporation has nothing to worry about." He looked calm and composed, as if everything was under his control. Luna frantically tried to signal Chad to stop talking, but he ignored her and continued to take credit. "Dealing with the Black Tiger Gang really took a lot of effort from my family. But as long as it helps you, it was worth it." "Chad." Claire looked at him, her tone strange, "It seems. Ethan was the one who resolved this, wasn't he?" "Yes, I was just about to tell you," Chad said without batting an eye. "I had already made the calls, but I didn't expect that brute Ethan to rush over and attack Forrest Foam, blowing the whole thing up. I saw I couldn't stop him, so I had to work through the night and get Kai Jiang from Caesar's palace to help clean up the mess. In the end, he just knows how to cause trouble." At that very moment, a voice message from Luna's friend arrived, confirming that Kai Jiang from Caesar's palace had indeed been there to clear the scene last night. Suddenly, Chad's lie seemed seamless. So that's what happened. The shock and doubt in Claire's heart were instantly washed away by Chad's explanation. She looked at him, her eyes full of gratitude. "Chad, thank you so much. You've helped the Chin family out of a huge mess again." In her eyes, Chad could not only help her career, but also save her family from disaster. He was a true pillar of support. Ethan, on the other hand, was just a brawler who caused trouble and needed others to clean up his messes. Stay away from Ethan from now on. What can he do besides drag you down? Claire nodded silently, the last trace of positive feeling for Ethan completely worn away. Just then, her phone rang. The caller ID clearly displayed 2 words, Ethan Shao. At the Chun Corporation president's office, hearing Ethan's simple statement, "The matter is resolved," sent a wave of anger through Claire. "How dare you say that? Do you have any idea that you almost ruined Chad's plan?" In her mind, Ethan was just a reckless troublemaker, while Chad was the strategist, the hero who solved the problem. What does this have to do with Chad? Ethan frowned. Of course it has to do with him. If Chad hadn't brought in Kai Jiang from Caesar's, the Chin family, including you, Ethan, would have met a terrible end last night. Claire's voice was filled with disappointment and scorn. Ethan fell silent. He had already guessed that Chad had once again cleverly stolen his credit. He didn't want to explain anymore, because he knew that to someone who no longer trusts you, all explanations are pointless. "You don't believe me? What reason have you given me to believe you?" Claire retorted. One was the heir to a prominent family with powerful connections. The other was a failure with nothing, just recently cast out from the Chin family. To her, there was no other choice to be made. "I told you. I won't explain another word to you." Ethan reminded her one last time. "Stay away from Chad and Luna. Don't come crying to me when it's too late." With that, he hung up. Claire, however, took Ethan's warning as jealousy and provocation. She became even more convinced that Ethan was not only incompetent, but also had a despicable character. She had no idea how deeply she had misunderstood him. At that moment, Ethan had already put it all behind him. He was focused on the meticulously prepared ointment before him, the key to resolving the crisis at Golden Faith. For the past 2 days, Jasmine Liu had been calling him non-stop, frantic as an ant on a hot pan. The product allergy incident was escalating, customer complaints were flooding the phone lines, and the situation was about to spiral completely out of control. Just then, Claire called again. It seemed a part of her was still uneasy, wanting one last confirmation. Tell me the truth, what really happened last night? I used the fist you looked down on to shatter the Black Tiger gang. That is the truth, Ethan replied flatly. Huh, Claire let out a cold laugh. She found Ethan utterly delusional, spouting nonsense. She once again adopted the tone of a seasoned expert, warning him that taking over the mess at Golden Faith was a dead end, that he was being set up as a scapegoat. I told you, in a week at most, I will bring Golden Faith back from the dead, Ethan said. Fine. If you can do it, then I, Claire Chun, will be at your disposal. Claire hung up decisively, no longer wanting to waste another breath on a man living in his own fantasy world. Ethan packed up the ointment and left the villa. He knew Claire meant well, but she didn't understand him, just as she didn't understand how a company on the verge of bankruptcy could, in his hands, become a piece capable of stirring up a storm. Inside Golden Faith, the office was in chaos. Jasmine looked at the mountain of customer complaints, completely overwhelmed. The company's shareholders and managers, meanwhile, adopted a hands-off attitude, waiting to watch her and Ethan fail. Just then, an assistant ran in, panicked. Vice Chair Liu, it's bad. There are a lot of people outside. Jasmine walked to the window. Outside the company gate, nearly 20 luxury cars were parked. A group of well-dressed, wealthy women were holding banners and shouting through megaphones in protest. Beside them, reporters from several media outlets had already set up their cameras, ready to record this historic moment. It's over. Golden Faith is finished today. This was the only thought in everyone's mind. Soon, more than 20 women wearing masks and sunglasses stormed into the office. They were emotional, ripping off their masks to reveal red, swollen, pimple-covered faces, a sight akin to disfigurement. You trash, soulless company. Look at our faces. What are you going to do about it? They surrounded Jasmine, bombarding her with questions, giving her no chance to explain. Jasmine was exhausted and helpless. For the first time, she felt how powerless her business school knowledge was in the face of such a fierce, real-world conflict. What's all the noise about? Just then, a calm yet powerful voice came from the doorway. Jasmine turned and, at the sight of Ethan, felt as if she had grabbed a lifeline. The company's other shareholders, however, gloatingly directed the blame towards him. He's our company's new chairman. Instantly, all the women turned their fire on Ethan. You heartless businessman. You look like a decent person. How could you do something so despicable? If you think shouting will solve the problem, then by all means, continue. Ethan's single sentence silenced the noisy office. He had a strange aura about him that commanded belief. I am here to solve your problem, he said, scanning the room, his tone composed. If you trust me, I guarantee that today, every single one of you will walk out of this office smiling. His words were met with scornful laughter. Money was not an issue for them. The only way to make them smile was to fix their faces. And that was impossible. Are you saying you can make my face go back to normal? A mature, beautiful woman with the most severe case asked, frowning. No. Ethan shook his head slightly. Just as the crowd was about to erupt, they heard Ethan's next words, which exploded in their ears like a thunderclap. Back to normal is too simple. He paused, a confident smile playing on his lips. I can make your skin look like it did when you were 18. Chapter 13. Back to my 18-year-old skin. To the assembled women, Ethan's words were no longer just a boast, but a blatant insult. They felt this young man was treating them like fools. Are you looking for a fight? The woman with the most severe reaction asked, her eyes filled with anger. I, Ethan, shall mean what I say. Ethan ignored her fury, slowly taking out 2 unmarked jars of ointment. The strange, high-end medicinal scent momentarily surprised the women, but their common sense told them not to trust any product from this company again. I've seen top dermatologists for my face. Even hospitals couldn't help, the woman sneered. You think your no-name product can do anything? Their failure is due to their lack of skill. For me, there is no problem that cannot be solved. Ethan's confidence seemed like sheer arrogance to the others. Seeing the crowd growing agitated again, Ethan offered 2 choices. 1. Do as I say. 2. You can go outside and continue your protest. With that, he sat back down in his chair, as if the matter no longer concerned him. The women looked at each other. Their ultimate goal was to solve their problem. After a tense standoff, the mature woman gritted her teeth and decided to be the guinea pig. I'll do it. She held considerable sway among the group, and her decision silenced the others. Let me be clear, she stared at Ethan. My husband works for the city's Food and Drug Administration. If anything happens to me, you and your company are finished. Ethan just nodded calmly. As everyone watched, Jasmine, with a nervous heart, slowly applied the cool, fragrant ointment to the woman's face. To everyone's surprise, the woman felt no discomfort. Instead, a soothing coolness spread over her hot, irritated skin. Wait 10 minutes, Ethan said without looking up. Those 10 minutes felt like an eternity for everyone in the room. 10 minutes later, at Ethan's signal, the woman washed the ointment off her face. When she looked up, the entire office fell into a dead silence. Oh my God, That's impossible. Gasps of astonishment filled the air. The woman hastily pulled out a compact mirror. When she saw her reflection, she let out a similar cry of disbelief. In the mirror, all the redness and pimples on her face were gone. Her skin was not only restored, but was now more supple and radiant than before, smooth and flawless like a peeled egg. Even the fine lines around her eyes had faded. How did you do that? She asked excitedly, grabbing the jar of ointment and examining it over and over. I've used repair creams that cost tens of thousands a bottle and never saw results this fast. Did you put hormones in this? She asked, quickly regaining her composure and raising the most critical question. Feel free to have it tested, Ethan replied nonchalantly. If any issues arise during use, I will take full responsibility. His confidence completely dispelled the woman's doubts. She quickly stuffed the jar into her purse, as if afraid someone would snatch it. Only then did the other women snap out of their daze, rushing forward and staring intently at the last remaining jar on the table. I'll pay 5,000. Let me use it. I'll give you 10,000. 50,000. I'll pay 50,000. The once reviled no-name product had now become a priceless artifact in their eyes. They were willing to pay a fortune just to experience its miraculous effects once. Amidst their fervent gazes, Ethan slowly stood up. He knew he had already won. He promised to mass-produce the product as soon as possible and give a free bottle to everyone present as compensation. His words brought smiles of joy and tears of gratitude to the women's faces. Their attitude towards the company shifted from deep-seated hatred to boundless anticipation. Several of the wealthy women even tried to get Ethan's contact information on the spot, hoping to hire him as a private consultant. After witnessing the miracle, all the company's shareholders and managers were completely won over by Ethan's methods. They came forward one by one to pledge their allegiance to him, and this time, it was with genuine conviction. Chairman Xiao, from this day forward, I, Quinton Zhang, will follow you to the death. If I ever have a second thought, may I be struck by lightning. The former vice chairman, Quinton Zhang, was the first to make a solemn vow. Jasmine watched the scene, her beautiful eyes shimmering with a strange light. She finally understood the profound meaning behind Ethan's words. I understand human nature. This man never ceased to bring her endless surprise and shock. Downstairs, the reporters who had been waiting for a scandal were utterly dumbfounded. They saw the group of furious women emerge not with complaints, but with praise for the company, telling the cameras they would continue to support it. A PR crisis that should have destroyed the company was not only skillfully averted by Ethan, but turned into a highly effective pre-launch campaign for a new product. Ethan's gaze passed over the crowd below and finally settled on a black sedan parked at the corner of the street. He knew that behind all this, an unseen hand was at work. Someone had meticulously plotted to destroy Golden Faith, but had instead, unintentionally, paved the way for his success. He turned and went back to the office, methodically arranging production tasks. The aura of a confident commander, strategizing and leading, left Jasmine, standing by his side, completely mesmerized. She felt as if she were witnessing the birth of a legend. Chapter 14. At the Chun Corporation president's office, the news of Golden Faith's miraculous turnaround, displayed on the computer screen, felt like a resounding slap across the faces of Claire and Luna. They couldn't fathom how a company on the brink of bankruptcy could be revived in a single day. He really did it. Claire's eyes were wide with disbelief. She remembered her bet with Ethan, to be at his disposal, and her heart was a whirlwind of emotions. No, this is impossible. Luna couldn't accept this reality. She refused to believe that the failure she had once trampled underfoot possessed such incredible abilities. Elsewhere, at the Liu family mansion, Marcus Liu's brother, Gavin, had intended to use the news of Golden Faith's collapse to challenge his brother's authority. He too was stunned by the reversal. His once certain plan had vanished into thin air, and he could only retreat in disgrace. Marcus Liu, on the other hand, let out a long sigh of relief. He knew that all of this was the work of the mysterious Mr. Xiao. Inside the Golden Faith factory, Ethan was personally overseeing the production of the first batch of the new product. He added his personally concocted core medicinal liquid to the semi-finished products in precise proportions. This final step was a dual safeguard to ensure both the product's effectiveness and the formula's security. Motivated by double overtime pay, the workers were full of energy, working through the night. After arranging everything, Ethan and Jasmine left the factory. Jasmine's face was alight with excitement and admiration. Mr. Xiao, several venture capital firms and skincare companies have already contacted me, wanting to invest and partner with us. Yesterday, Golden Faith was lifeless. Today, it was the hottest ticket in town, and it was all because of the man standing before her. I really don't know how to thank you, Jasmine said sincerely. This favor wasn't just about saving a company. It had solidified her and her father's position within the family. We are helping each other, Ethan replied coolly. He helped Jasmine, and she helped him find herbs. It was a fair partnership. Mr. Xiao, it seems you have even bigger plans. Jasmine saw a vast sea of stars in Ethan's eyes. Ethan didn't answer directly, just glanced back at the factory behind them. He knew this small factory couldn't support his future ambitions. I saw there's a land auction in 2 days. We need to register for it. Expanding production? Jasmine instantly understood his intention. By the way, she said, as if remembering something, the new company you asked me to register is all set up. To maintain secrecy, I didn't use the name Grace. What's it called now? Ethan asked casually. A special light glinted in Jasmine's eyes as she said softly, Elysian Therapeutics. Elysian Therapeutics, a name reflecting a heavenly, almost magical quality. Ethan repeated it silently and nodded. That works. Let's go with that. A pharmaceutical empire that would one day shake the entire Dragon Country was thus quietly founded. The two drove back to the Golden Faith office. Just as they pulled into a parking spot, the deafening roar of an engine filled the air. With a screech of tires, a red Mercedes sports car executed an aggressive drift, sliding to a stop and completely blocking their car. Who's so rude? Jasmine frowned, about to get out and confront them. But Ethan had already narrowed his eyes. He recognized the person in the driver's seat, someone he knew, but never wanted to see again. But Ethan had already narrowed his eyes. He recognized the person in the driver's seat, someone he knew, but never wanted to see again. In front of the red Mercedes, Luna stood with her hands on her hips, blocking Ethan's path with an air of self-righteousness. Ethan, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Ethan felt nothing but disgust for this woman. He ignored her and walked towards the company entrance. But Luna spread her arms, blocking him again. Ethan, I need to talk to you about something private, concerning Claire. Only at the mention of Claire's name did Ethan stop. Speak. I've already looked into it. You developed that ointment for Golden Faith, right? Luna asked. Yes, Ethan admitted. That's right, Luna said, holding out her hand as if demanding something that already belonged to her. Now, give me the formula. Her shamelessness made Ethan laugh. Beside him, Jasmine's face turned red with anger. Are you kidding me? I'm not kidding, Luna said, her logic twisted. Ethan and Claire aren't officially divorced yet, so this formula is marital property. I'm claiming it on Claire's behalf. It's perfectly justified. The shameless are truly invincible. Jasmine couldn't help but curse. But Luna shut her down with a single sentence. This is their private matter. What right do you, an outsider, have to interfere? Did she send you? Ethan asked Luna, his face impassive. That's none of your business. Then what right do you have to make demands of me? Ethan's eyes turned cold. Without her, you don't even have the right to speak to me. He pushed past Luna and strode towards the company. Ethan, who are you trying to fool? Luna screamed hysterically behind him. Do you know why Claire divorced you? It's because you have nothing, yet you still act so arrogant. Ethan didn't look back, simply tossing a sentence over his shoulder. If you want the formula, have Claire come and beg me for it herself. Luna stormed back to the Chin Corporation and told Claire an exaggerated version of what had happened. After hearing it, Claire was filled with mixed emotions. She didn't want to believe Ethan would deliberately withhold something, but the facts were in front of her, forcing her to believe it. In the end, she stubbornly concluded that Ethan couldn't achieve much with just a single formula. The next day, as soon as Golden Faith's new product hit the shelves, it caused a massive sensation among the city's wealthy elite. The visible, magical effects drove countless women into a frenzy. Word of mouth spread like a virus, and the product sold out instantly, with scalpers even reselling it at exorbitant prices. Golden Faith, once on the verge of bankruptcy, had overnight become the hottest star in Seacliff City. Major skincare brands were beaten into submission. Countless CEOs, filled with sincerity, beat a path to Golden Faith's door, desperate for a chance to cooperate. In the president's office of the Chin Corporation, Claire stared blankly at the news reports about Golden Faith, her heart in turmoil. Inside her company, the clamor from shareholders to partner with Golden Faith was growing louder. And even the family elders were calling to apply pressure. All of this made her feel an unprecedented sense of defeat. Yesterday, she had scoffed at Ethan's formula. Today, she regretted it. It was the first time since leaving Ethan that she felt regret. Under immense pressure, she finally swallowed her pride and dialed the number of the man she had once despised. Ethan, I'd like to meet with you. No need. Just say what you need to say, came Ethan's calm, emotionless voice from the other end. Claire took a deep breath and brought up their bet. I never expected you to actually bring Golden Faith back from the dead. As we agreed, I am now at your disposal. I have no interest in disposing of you. Ethan's reply was a fresh humiliation for Claire. That formula. I'm very interested in it, she finally said, forcing the words out. What does that have to do with me? Didn't you say I should come and beg you for it? I said you could come and beg me, but I never said I would give it to you, Ethan sneered. I just wanted to see how thick your skin really is, Claire Chun. You. Claire trembled with rage. The way you threw me out of the Chin family, and now you come asking for something good now that I have it. Don't you find that behavior utterly shameless? Ethan's words were like daggers to her heart. Claire's face flushed red. She tried to use money, then shares, to trade for the formula. But Ethan rejected every offer with a curt, "Not interested." "Ethan, don't be ungrateful," she snapped in frustration. "If you don't agree today, you will regret it sooner or later." "The one who should have regrets is you," Ethan said, and hung up the phone. He would not help the Chin family again. That was his principle, a man of his word. Claire slammed her phone on the desk, her beautiful face twisted with anger. Meanwhile, at the center of this storm, Ethan had already returned to his thousand-island lake villa, enjoying a rare moment of peace. Though he was the chairman, he only dealt with major problems, leaving the daily operations to Jasmine. He had just finished a workout in his gym and was standing on the terrace, gazing at the sparkling lake, feeling at peace. Suddenly, his phone rang, shattering the tranquility. Ethan took it out, and when he saw the name on the caller ID, his brow furrowed slightly.